Hi everyone, welcome back to my platform. Today I have someone very special with me. Her name is Ashwini Dasgupta. Ashwini is a certified hypnotherapy practitioner and a systemic family constellation facilitator. Today, Ashwini is going to talk to us about hypnotherapy. We're going to bust a few myths about hypnotherapy and we're going to see how it helps with clients who want to work on self esteem and locus of control. A very, very warm welcome to you, Ashwini.
Thank you, Ashna. Happy to be here.
My first question: what exactly is hypnotherapy? Could you bust a few myths about hypnotherapy for us today?
Love to. To put it in a nutshell, is delivered to the client when the client is under hypnosis. Very simply put, the name itself says it. On the other hand, hypnotherapy can also be uh, defined as therapy or process or resolution that has been brought about while the client is in a deep state of relaxation. And when I say relaxation, it's a full body and mind relaxation. That is what allows a person to be receptive, a person to feel safe, ideas and suggestions to be to kind of take root in a more uh, helpful, proactive manner, and resistance is much lowered at that point in time because there is a sense of feeling safe, a sense of feeling warm, a sense of feeling comfortable, and that helps us to take it a little further than just talk therapy would. There are, like you said, a lot of myths around hypnotherapy and hypnosis, really, and a lot of people liken it to mind control. And one of the the few more ignorant questions that you come, I won't start clucking like a chicken, will I? Kind of a thing. So yes, there is this aspect to it, which really belongs to stage magic and stage performances and mass hypnosis of a very different kind. That too exists, but that is not the space that we are in right now. We would like to say that this is clinical or spiritual hypnotherapy that is tailored for the need of the specific person. Controlling the conscious mind is definitely not on the agenda because we want the person to be in charge of their own conscious mind, not in control, but in charge of their conscious mind, so that whatever suggestions you are offering them based on the interview is something that they are open to and not in resistance. Ultimately, that's what it's all about, is that we want to create a space where there is as little resistance as possible when you're working with a client with deep rooted issues or psychological issues or past traumas or just habits that need to be shifted a little bit. We just don't want the resistance, and hypnotherapy works beautifully in those spaces where there is an inherent resistance, and then over time there's a comfort zone develops with your therapist. You are able to accept the suggestions a little more willingly, and that's what hypnotherapy is all about. So the myths about I will not remember anything, or I will say something that I don't intend to say, that I might be ashamed of, none of that is ever going to happen in a session of clinical or spiritual hypnotherapy. Not going to happen, because your mind is always in charge. Even during the session, your mind is in charge and you are able to discern what is okay for me to bring up. It so happens that we might get into a session with a client with a clear agenda of this is what we are going to address. Say, for example, the issue is abuse, childhood abuse, and we might get into the session saying, okay, this is what we're going to address. Halfway through the session, the client does not feel comfortable talking about it, realizes I'm not yet ready to talk about it, and we just move the session to something else. So there is no compulsion at any point in time that you are being made to say something that you're not ready to say. So it's a very gentle way of guiding a person in the direction the person says they want to go. And it takes its time, it's slow, but it's very comprehensive, it's very deep. I hope that answers your question, Ashna.
There was another myth that I wanted to address with you now that we're talking about myths. In that, it's okay to go in for a hypnotherapy session if you're intoxicated. So, if you're smoking, say, cannabis, or you've taken some kind of drug, it's okay to go into a session in that altered state of mind.
Really good question. And as a rule of thumb, if people are on medication for on meds for psychological reasons, if they're taking medication for depression or anxiety, we generally don't like to do a deep trance. So we have other tools that we try. We would try something like EFT, emotional freedom technique. That's a more wide awake kind of a process, but it will touch on the issues that the client wants to deal with. But as a rule of thumb, to go into hypnosis under intoxication is not a good idea, for the simple reason that you're already under a mind altering situation, and then to have someone impose another layer of, kind of asking you to move around in your subconscious mind and look at things may not be the best thing to do. Also, we want your conscious mind to be engaged during the session of hypnotherapy, so not being able to recall or remember is pointless. So it's best, even if people who are on medication, we say, okay, go a few weeks without medication and then we can do a session of hypnotherapy. Or then we have other tools in our box that we can use. We can use EFT, we can use something else. So yes, as a rule of thumb, intoxication and hypnotherapy, not advisable. You have to be you have to have a lot many more skill set ready to use with you, if that is something that you are in a position that you have no other option but to try it. If there is a client in front of you who is obviously intoxicated, but that's the only thing that will work right now, you have to be an extremely skilled, extremely experienced. You must have a lot more in your arsenal of tools than just be able to do hypnotherapy.
So this week on my platform, we've discussed locus of control and self-esteem. Both we know go hand in hand. And most often when a client comes to us, and I'm talking about adult clients here, these are these are beliefs that are so deep rooted because it starts from a prenatal stage. So all of this that you're sort of, these beliefs that you hold are extremely deep rooted. Where does hypnotherapy come into the picture when you're working with clients who need to work on their locus of control and build their self-esteem?
This is such a great topic, Ashna, because as a hypnotherapist, even amongst us, I don't think we talk enough about this. Even when we are discussing cases and we're discussing the types of directions that we are choosing to take with clients, we don't talk enough about this. And it's very important. And actually, to be very honest, as a hypnotherapist, you're constantly working on exactly this, the locus of control, right? And I would like to view it more as a scale rather than as just a position that one may be on. In different situations, you might find yourself, that you have no control internally and everything is dependent on outside environment. And at other times, you are completely in charge. We like to keep saying this, that control is an illusion. There is no control. Nobody has any control. The best that you can hope for is to be in charge of your emotions and your thoughts. That's the best that one can hope for. So once you have that, then you can say that you have kind of a more internal locus of control. Things like self-esteem, for example, which go hand in hand with conditioning that has been prenatal. In our modern language, we don't really like to touch upon that because what you see is what you get kind of a situation. We don't want to talk about the state of your mother's mindset, her attitude, whether she was upset or depressed or unhappy while you were in vitro. We don't like to talk about these things, but they play a big role. And we've kind of gotten there with the age regression, where we have regressed clients to near birth or in utero kind of a situation, and we've kind of landed upon certain situations that were key to resolving issues that have emerged in adult life. So I like to see locus of control more as a scale. And with hypnotherapy, the idea is to allow people to decide where the locus of control needs to be in any given situation. It need not always be inside. The understanding, the wide general conventional understanding is, if the locus of control is internal, then you're likely to be more professional, more successful, more effective, more happy. You will have more leadership qualities, you will take charge more often, etc., etc., etc. But that can't be good always, right? Because you don't live in a bubble that is only catering to your kind of a situation. What also happens with a exaggerated internal locus of control is that there is a tendency to take on more responsibility than is necessary, which also leads to the next crazy thing, which is perfectionism. I have to be perfect because I'm in charge. And of course, this is linked with self-esteem. The only reason you drive for perfection is because you're so afraid of making a mistake, because your self-esteem is just not geared for failure, which is a very integral part of life experiences. You need to be able to fail, to get the lessons from it, move on, and find new strategies and new tactics to approach the problem again. And then if you have a completely internalized locus of control, this fails you, because then you're not open to what comes out of it. Then at the same time, having an overtly, excessively external locus of control also means that you are just not willing to take responsibility. And everything is the fault of the environment or the other person or your parent or your teacher or your friend or your spouse or whatever it is. And of course, life is never like that. You have to take some responsibility for what you have contributed to it. And you have to allow some responsibility to rest on situations and events that are truly beyond your control. And to be able to discern the scale in every situation, you need to be able to adapt. You are sometimes internal. Within that, you are allowing a little bit of an external locus to, no, okay, fine, I control this, but this is, I can't answer for this. So let's take it as it comes. So what happens with hypnotherapy, that since you said that this is more a perception, the locus of control is an internal perception, and it's also perception that people have about you. So with hypnotherapy, what happens is you get intimately connected with what your tendency might be to lay the locus of control. You know, if it's a constant need to keep it internal, then you know that you need to shift it and accept that there are some things beyond my control and I need not make them my responsibility and my problem. This relieves the person of a lot of undue burden, right? At the same time, if the person tends to live in an external locus of control, then you kind of create a perception that asks them or teaches them to look at it from a internal perspective, internal point of view, and then begin little by little to start taking responsibility in small ways. You know, the simple thing of just observing your breath and see what your body is doing. In a hypnosis session, become aware of the rhythms of all that your body does. Become aware of what your feet are sensing, what your hands are sensing. Do you even pay attention to how much contact means to your own body, your own contact, your own physical contact? Laying your hand on your heart, on your stomach, what does that do to you? This creates a internal identification that there is something inside of me, and this is part of every hypnotherapy session. It's never overt, it's never driven or drilled in, but it's always there. So this is a very wonderful and very peaceful, quiet, gentle aspect of hypnotherapy that very automatically, without saying so, without talking about the concepts, teaches that the locus of control can be shifting. It's good if it's shifting, and you have to decide, depending on what the situation asks of you, to either place it within or to recognize it as an external event.
Great. That brings me to my last question for this segment. Ashwini, I'd like to ask you to share one thing that you do for self-care and how it helps you.
This is something that is always last on the priority for a lot of people, and over a period of time, you learn that it cannot be the last thing in your list of priorities. It needs to be the first thing on your list of priorities. So typically before a session, there is a little bit of self-care that I will do. I use visualizations a lot. In my own mind, I use color visualizations a lot. So before I even allow a client to come step into the room, I kind of ground myself. I will visualize light or radiance in the room to protect me, to protect the client, because there is, whether you like it or not, there is projection always. Either from the client to you or from you to the client, there is going to be projection to protect both you and the client from these kind of projections, because why do you need to deal with that kind of a thing? That's before. At the end of a day, if I've done a lot of sessions, then I resort to EFT a lot. So EFT is another great favorite with a lot of hypnotherapists, because we learn it as part of the curriculum. So there are a couple of other things, kind of an accelerated version of it is EFT stands for Emotional Freedom Technique. We use an accelerated version of it called Emotional Empowerment Technique. And we also use something called Soul's Temple, which kind of brings your issue to the forefront. So if I'm dealing with feeling grief or feeling bitterness or feeling anger or feeling frustration, I will bring that to the forefront, and I will see why I am unable to let it go and why it has become so important to me. And I will try and, it's more like talking to yourself, more like tapping out the issues, but I will use EFT a lot. So that's one of my big go-tos. I recommend it to everybody who's not tried it to try EFT. It's a wonderful self-care tool, apart from being a great way to resolve issues.
With that, we come to the end of this segment. I want to thank you so much for taking the time out to talk to us about hypnotherapy and locus of control. I'm pretty sure I'm going to be calling you back for more segments. And I really want to thank you for today.
Thank you so much, Ashna. It's been a pleasure. I'm happy to collaborate with you, and I think you're doing an amazing job. So thank you very much for everything that you do.